Live. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this session on skills as the foundation of transformation. My name is Richard Doherty, and I am Senior Director for Solution Marketing at Workday, and I'm based in our London office. I'm going to be joined by our speakers in a few moments, but together we're all very excited to discuss and share insights with you around skills and how they relate to transformation. Now, we will allow about 10 minutes for live Q&A at the end of the session. So as you're listening to the discussion, if questions pop into your mind, don't wait till the end. Just pop those questions into the platform as they pop into your mind. And to do that, click on the chat, the blue chat button in the bottom right-hand corner, and enter your question there. We'll be monitoring those questions as they come in. If we get loads and loads of questions, don't worry. Clearly, we won't be able to answer them all in the session, but the plan and intention is to make sure that everyone gets answers to their questions in the very near future. One final piece of housekeeping before I hand over to the experts. This session is subject to our safe harbour statement, which you can see on the screen there now. So with that, let me pass the baton on to my colleague, Daniela.
Thank you so much, Richard, and welcome everyone to this session. So in the next half an hour or so, we are really going to explore with our guest how you can leverage Workday Skills Cloud and the talent marketplace to create a culture of collaboration, community, connection, opportunity, and growth in your company, all while adapting to ever-changing business needs. My name is Daniela Poor. I'm joining you from the Netherlands today, and I am part of our solutions marketing team here in Europe. And it's my great pleasure today to now welcome Vivienne Tardieu to the stage. Vivienne, do you want to join us?
Yeah. Hi, Daniela. Hello, everyone. I'm Viv. I'm from Ferring Pharmaceuticals, and I'm the leader of the Global HR Solutions and Transformation team. It's really nice to be here. At Ferring, our mission is to help people build families, and I like to think that our job is to help the workers who do that behind the scenes.
That does sound like, what everybody's striving for, a job with purpose. And it sounds really wonderful. So before we get started in exploring how you're using Talent Marketplace and how it all came to be, would you like to give us a little bit of context around, Ferring, the company you're working for, their mission and culture, really?
Sure. We're a smaller pharma player. We're a bit of a boutique group. We focus on gastroenterology, fertility, obstetrics, gynecology, and urology. We were founded in 1950 in Sweden. And then the headquarters moved to Switzerland about 15 years ago. Workday came on the scene for Ferring as the first truly global ERP in the company. It was within HR, so we're very proud of that. And the go live was in 2016. And at that time it was just human capital management. And over the past 5 years, we've added the other functionalities that you can see listed there. So we're always doing something new. It's quite hard to keep a hand on all the operations and business as usual while always launching new things. But we've realized that technology, especially Workdays, is a terrific enabler of our people strategy and everything that we want our business and employees to be able to do. So yeah.
Wonderful. It does sound like a great place to work indeed. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing your story. And that said, let's actually start chatting about it. To start with, let's bring you up on the screen. And I hope this is, you can all see us both now. So to start with, how did it actually start? So why did you go on this journey to go for from Skills Cloud to Talent Marketplace? What was going on, and what were your drivers?
Right. So we always keep an eye on what's on the roadmap at Workday. So we try to attend Rising. We listen to all of the webinars that come out. We look at what's in the Workday community. So we knew that something was coming in the pipe around Marketplace, but we didn't actually pay attention to when it launched in early adopter. And it was just a coincidence that when COVID hit during the first lockdown in March 2020, we happened to be on a call, it was right place, right time with our customer success manager. And we were telling her about this bind that we were in. She was saying, "Oh, how are you dealing with lockdown?" We're like, "Well, we've got 1,000, maybe 1,500 salespeople stuck at home with great skills, and we don't know how to get them to how to find out what their skills are, what their availability is, and match them to other needs in the business." And at that time, we had no idea how long the pandemic was going to go. There was another happy coincidence where at the town hall that the executive committee organized to be able to address the whole company about what was happening with lockdown, the chief legal officer happened to say, "It would be great if we knew about your skills. Why don't you put them into Workday?" And that was exactly the push that we needed from a executive sponsorship to get everybody to put their skills into Workday. So I would say there was a confluence of fortunate circumstances during a very unfortunate time that was the pandemic. So yeah, we found out that where people were improvising what could be called a marketplace in Excel and SharePoint, and I'm sure that all of the Workday people here would say Excel and SharePoint can be outdone by Workday's technology, and that was really the way we wanted to go. We wanted to be sustainable, to be organic, to be accessible on iPads and mobiles, and not so cumbersome as SharePoint and Workday. So yeah, we contacted our customer service manager, and I'm not kidding, within less than a week, we got the endorsement from our vice presidents of HR, and we got accepted by the folks in San Francisco to join the early adopters program, and we were really grateful for that opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vivian. It does sound like you had like two happy coincidences with those separate meetings. And then you seized the opportunity, which is also, I think, a great talent. And to me, it sounds like it also had a uniting factor, like you brought people together. And I love improvising, but it's great to actually bring people together on one technology. So my next question is, I do think you already used Skills Cloud as a foundation. So after those happy coincidence meetings, what was your plan? What did you want to add?
So the first thing we realized that if we wanted Talent Marketplace to work, we would quickly need to boost skills. So on one track, we were focusing on the marketplace launch, the project, but very quickly in the space of less than 2 weeks, we quickly analyzed the number of employees who had skills in the system, and we put in place a change management plan to just boost it. And very, very quickly, within about a week, we saw it go from less than 100 employees who had skills in Workday to over 800, and now it's in the thousands. So we were very, very grateful again to that chief legal officer for name dropping the functionality in Workday at the town hall, because it gave us that opening. And the way that we work at Ferring is our HR technology team, we don't contact employees directly except for once in a blue moon. We always design little comms that our local HRs can adapt and utilize, so they can translate it, they can do it on posters, they can do it in emails, whatever is the right approach. But we were able to very quickly leverage our existing project management methodology to get skills up and running. The other thing was that we were kind of lacking, I guess we had been lacking that impetus, that burning platform to be able to consider marketplace. So again, it was a good confluence of factors that came together.
So you really explained why the Skills Foundation is called the Skills Foundation. There is no bring it to life without having the foundation and that knowledge of what people bring to the company, and to then have that common language to link it all up with opportunities.
Sorry, and what Workday brought versus the Excel and SharePoint I mentioned before is that Workday has the AI that SharePoint and Excel don't have. So that was really the little, I would say, the winning factor with our executives.
That sounds very smart indeed. So tell me a little bit more. Apparently the first few steps went very fast, just a week. I assume you still did something like a business case and wrote down some goals and measurements of success.
Yeah, so we had, at the time, we obviously had the burning platform of COVID and lockdown, but the other one was that we had already started a journey to become a more agile company with a capital A. IT were embarking on their agile journey, research and development were, and I really wanted HR to get with it, as did some of my other colleagues in the leadership team. So we used that to say, okay, the burning platform is lockdown, but the long-term goal is if we want to create a more agile organization where we can find out, a little bit kind of tied to strategic workforce planning, but not exactly. It was about if we can find out where the skills are and where the need is and match the skills availability and needs, what a happier place it would be. Indirectly, it also fed into a talent management and engagement roadmap. But I can tell you more about that afterwards. But it was again a very it was a quick business case, and yeah, it also helped that early adopter was financially incentivizing.
That does help. And it seems like you had layers of goals and drivers, really, the more profound need for employee engagement and then the more burning needs. So everything happened really fast. Did you keep that pace or did you actually slow down? Tell us a little bit more about, deployment, and you started talking about change management and how you did that. So how did it all go?
So we are a very small HR technology team, and what we have always done for all of these rollouts, be it recruiting, merit, advanced comp, whatever, and now for talent marketplace, our small project team and our HR technology experts, we always band together with subject matter experts, or I would say representatives from the functions and regions from HR. What we did a little bit differently this time was we included people from IT and the business, and from IT, corporate communications, and the business in the project team. This is our first time. We didn't realize it was going to become a pilot for a new way of doing rollouts, but it actually went really well. The first thing we did was the project planning and then the stakeholder analysis. We knew that for this to be successful, we had to be really key on what was the message we were getting across and targeting our stakeholders at the right time in the right way. The other thing that we did was that we really took the vanilla solution from Workday. Because it was early adopter, there wasn't much chance for customization. But we decided from the start, even once Workday would make it more customizable, we were going to stick to the vanilla one. And this was a lesson learned from previous rollouts. We are having an absolute headache of a time with our performance management module because we were overzealous in customizing it in 2017. So our biggest lesson learned from previous Workday rollouts was listen to the Workday advice, listen to what all of your other clients do, and don't try to reinvent the wheel, because it's clearly working for lots of Fortune 500 companies. It can work for Ferring too. So it was a moment of humility and recognizing some lessons learned. But I really think that it helped that we stuck to the solution that Workday was suggesting we recommend, and that certainly helped us implement within 8 weeks. So that was really good.
8 weeks only, and you rolled with it. So I do know that you had a special eye on the testing phase and a special approach for that. So tell me a little bit more about that.
What we did was we chose 2 departments to focus on, our own. Our HR leaders always like to say we should eat our own food. So we started using gigs first in HR and also in IT, because we were the 2 functions who were exploring agile and looking, and gigs made the most sense. We also knew that we had the most needs for short-term projects that would be a great way of proving, or not proving, but testing that gigs worked. And also because everybody in HR and IT already had updated their skills in Workday, you'd have the best matching, the best proof of the technology working. And we're both global functions spread out over the world. So it was also a way to say, oh yeah, we're getting a good taste and flavor for the diverse needs of different cultures, different languages, and people on a shop floor in IT or in a corporate office in IT. Obviously at this time we're all at home, but that was the principle there, yeah.
And so you did say you had your volunteer groups, and I do think it does sound like a success, also like a bit of everybody coming together cross-functionally. But I do think I'm pretty sure it wasn't always smooth sailing. So let's take a moment to look at rocks on the road. What was tough, and how did you, or maybe how are you still overcoming some obstacles?
So just before the pandemic started, Ferring had initiated a small, modest restructuring, but it was still quite an impact for a very family-centered traditional company like ours. So it wasn't the best time to talk about talent marketplace when there was a lot of talk about talent leaving the business due to redundancies. So our project team did a little bit of soundboarding with stakeholders and employees. And it was very simple. We renamed it from Talent Marketplace to Opportunity Marketplace. It was about opportunities more than talent. And that was just it's not about being politically correct, but it was about being sensitive to what was going on at Ferring at the time. And the name has stuck because now in our engagement survey, we talk about opportunities to learn and grow. So the nomenclature really has followed through. And I think it was a wise decision at the time. But that was certainly one of the first hiccups we encountered on I would say, the change journey. The second thing was that while the tech deployment was smooth, we still had to go from being face-to-face with the technology team and the global process owners to doing everything fully virtually. But it worked. It just took a lot of extra effort on behalf of our project manager, and I think she did a fantastic job, and everybody contributed. We did have some slowness in uptake outside of those pilot groups. Like, we were hoping that by the time the restructurings were over in Q4, more groups would pick it up, but I think it wasn't the right time for Ferring. So HR and IT continued to use a lot, and I think we only had about 16 or 18 gigs in total in 2020 in the 6 months it was live. But we've had 44 since then, and we're starting to see it gradually grow more and more from outside. But what I do want to say is that I would say it's growing organically, and it's very sincere and genuine. And when I look at the statistics, while a lot of the gigs are hosted by the main functions, by the corporate functions, we have volunteers from everywhere. We have volunteers from commercial, from manufacturing, and from R&D, even if it's more the corporate functions who are hosting the gig itself. So I feel that while we were perhaps not as speedy or we didn't have the biggest uptake that we were hoping for, it's been steady, and I think I'm really grateful for that, because it's also given us more time to tweak our change management and support as a result.
Yeah, and there's something that speaks for organic growth, and you said it, it's genuine, it's sincere, and there's something to say about quality over quantity, and it does seem like it does bring the business together and connects people from different parts of the business too. Wonderful. So you've been on this journey, you've rolled with it, and so did your volunteers from all over the business. Would you describe for us a little bit what the outcomes are? So where are you today, and what are the outcomes?
Well, I'm proud to say it's a success. I would like to think that most of all of our Workday rollouts have been successful, but this one, I really feel that as a company, we are putting our money where our mouth is. Everybody wants to talk about giving their people opportunities and chances to develop. And this is really the culmination of all of that effort. It's great to have an individual development plan. It's great to have internal job posting. It's great to have all of these things. And I think maybe this was a little piece that was missing. So to have done it 4 or 5 years ago when we first launched Workday, it probably would have been premature. We needed to go on this journey to be in a position to do it. But I'm really proud that, we keep talking about 70, 20, 10 development plans, and it's so hard to find the 70%. Very easy to send someone in a class or to give them mentoring. It's a lot harder to get them on the job experience. And we had what we call a lot of runner-up candidates internally, people who would apply for a job internally, and they would be the runner-up. And it would be like, oh, you're just missing this little experience. And now we have an opportunity to give people that chance to get that little missing experience, so that when they do apply for a job internally, they've got it. And I'm really sincere when I say it. I think the marketplace has brought opportunities to people that they wouldn't have known about because they're projects, whereas all of our jobs are advertised so people can see that. But you don't necessarily hear about a chance to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be part of this project for a few weeks or a few months. So I'm very, very proud of that.
It really seems to have that impact on internal mobility, and thus also employee engagement.
Yes.
And give you a tool as you bring projects and people together based on their skills. It seems to give you a tool to let your people shine, which is a wonderful thing to do for the people and the business. That is fantastic. Do you have a couple of examples to make this even more tangible, like gig examples or what people have said? So tell us more.
So I spoke to a few of the gig hosts recently, just so that I would have something fresh to say.
Thank
ones
you.
who have been running our employee engagement experience, they have been recruiting engagement ambassadors from around their locations or functions, and they used Marketplace to do it. They said, oh, I need 10 for Switzerland or 4 for Argentina or whatever it was. And they said it was a great way to get out of the pool of usual suspects of volunteers who we always tend to call on because we know they're willing. Obviously, we want those people to volunteer as well, but it'd be great to hear from other voices. So I think indirectly, and I might be misquoting one of the HR managers, but he said it gave him a much more diverse palette of volunteers for employee engagement, which is so critical to representing the voice of employees. So I think that was really good. The other one was one of our managers down in Argentina. She said that it allowed her to be able to give feedback on projects in a really formal way, because when you close the gig, you can send feedback about the member and it goes into their profile. And that's just a lovely way to recognize. And in that location, they've been really putting a lot of emphasis on recognition. So that was great. In the next few weeks, we're going to be running our second annual engagement survey. And when we get the results in November, one of our side projects will be to extract a report to show the 400, 500 or so gig members if their engagement on the I've had opportunities to learn and grow in the last 12 months, if that's different from the mass population.
Wonderful. So that really goes into measuring the impact that you described on engagement. And I see Richard has joined us. I'm sure you've got something important to say to us.
Yeah. So I'm interrupting you. I know you could go on talking for ages, but I think we're running out of time for that section, and we definitely want to. We've had a few questions coming in, so I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to answer those questions. So. Thanks very much, Daniela and Viv. That was great, really interesting. Let me have a look at the questions. So, Viv, I think you're going to be pretty busy answering these. I'm afraid they're mostly for you. Does the talent marketplace work well, would you say, in a manufacturing organisation like yours?
Yes, it has, to the extent that crew leaders will allow their colleagues to participate. So they might not be able to volunteer for gigs that are much more, I would say, heavy lifting. But if it's a few hours a week or a few hours a month, we have seen uptake. I think what was really great was we had some of the plant managers, the plant directors, volunteer for 2 of our HR technology projects to be part of user acceptance testing. We have never had plant directors do that before. So we're clearly touching that population. We haven't got enough statistics to say, oh, yes, it's a sure deal. I think there is something to be said for the type of gigs and the duration of the gigs that you offer. But the fact that our operators and our production employees access Workday for all of their other things, for absence, performance, pay slips, they're used to going into Workday on their devices or on the shared computers. So
yeah, I mean, I think talent marketplace would work in any vertical, to be honest.
When I looked at the statistics, we do have more people from, I would say, corporate /R&D/commercial functions than manufacturing, but we have had employees from manufacturing volunteer and be chosen for gigs.
Good, thank you. So then the next one. This is a bit of a specific question, asking, are gigs being defined as internal job postings, or are they separate short-term assignments that employees are expected to work on in parallel with their day jobs?
Yes, there. So for us, a short-term assignment would be like a secondment. So that's our next project in Marketplace to explore. But it's more about, I would say, projects that you do, yes, on top of your day job, unless it's very significant. And then it's between the gig host and the line manager to negotiate the dedication of time. But I would say it's more the second. It's more about short stints projects. Yeah. I think the longest duration we've seen is 6 months, and maybe 5 or 6 hours per month for that.
So depending upon the time commitment, there would be different conversations
to
get the approval. Okay, no, that's good. Next one is, this is an interesting one. This comes up a lot. Someone here is saying, it's the whole sort of the skills and skills versus competencies debate. And this person says, we're hearing from some companies they're focusing solely on skills and turning off competencies because skills offer the most value. What are your thoughts on that, Viv, this whole skills versus competencies?
We could talk for a whole hour on this. We are exploring this competency matrix functionality of Workday. We've done a prototype and it works well. We're lacking a little bit of internal ownership to really, we want to do a global solution and not just for one group, but it's actually for manufacturing. We're going to be launching this skills matrix, but it's actually a competency matrix more than skills in Workday language. So we are exploring it. It's very important for us because we're a pharmaceutical company, and so we're subject to GXP, good pharmaceutical practices, and a lot of regulatory audits. So we have to track people's skills and competency and proficiency levels. We know Workday has a solution. We're currently we just started using Workday Expert Services to help us develop the prototype and launch it in 2 pilots. So we are going down that track. We're starting with procurement and manufacturing, and then we hope to make it global. But I will admit publicly, we've had a lot of other things that have come on top as a priority. So yeah, come back to me in a year on that one.
Well, maybe we will. Maybe we will. And for any Workday customers out there, there's lots of great content on the Workday community about skills and competencies and how actually they're not mutually exclusive. So
yeah.
So some more questions here. At Ferring, can any user be a gig host or only select personas, for instance, like a manager?
No, everybody can be a gig host. However, I would need to check. I think we excluded contingent workers, but any employee can be a gig host. Yes, that was our goal. Yeah,
that's interesting. I've heard other customers where it's just managers, so it's interesting. It can be used in different ways. A follow-on question from the same person. What is the typical duration of your gig opportunities?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know exactly, but when I look through the list, I would say it's 3 to 6 months. And we've had, like I mentioned, the user acceptance test. We did a few where we really wanted to get diverse voices for maybe 4 or 5 focus groups. We advertised them as gigs because that guaranteed that we would get that AI driving the interests and skills. It would promote the opportunity to them, and we would go out of that usual suspects bucket. We wanted to get more diverse voices. So yeah. I would say the great majority are 3 to 6 month duration.
Okay. And the final question from the same person here, which are great questions, this is a really good one actually. Is compensation attached to gigs at this time?
No, not in Workday, but also from, I would say, a philosophical perspective. That was one of the discussions during the launch. If that person wants to contact me on LinkedIn, I can send you more details. But we explicitly separated out jobs and secondments because we didn't want to get bogged down in discussions over budget, headcount, backfills. Those kind of conversations should happen offline between the manager and the gig host if it becomes a long-term secondment. So for gigs, it's really like if you get permission from your boss to volunteer, then it's understood that you'll spend some of your time. The other thing is, I don't think there's been any financial compensation for being in a gig, and I will have to dig up the wording, but we made it sound like this is an opportunity to serve Ferring and to enhance your skills, and be a good teammate, all the nice things that I believe in, but we did not want to get tied down in whether you get a spot bonus for this or something. So that was a philosophical decision we made.
That's interesting. Thank you. We've been shut off by someone.
So not quite. We can go on, but I do think we have about 2 minutes left, and I think we have a ton of great questions. And it's amazing that you offered to connect on LinkedIn. We do have our top 3 takeaways here, Vivian. If you want to, in 1 minute, give us your top 3.
All right. So what I shared with Danielle is that we having a cross-functional team from start to finish will have the biggest impact on the success of launching Marketplace. It's different from launching something like absence or time tracking. This is really it's a functionality that will serve your employees and your business leaders greatly, and having them involved from the start will really make a difference. And for us, having someone from corporate comms in the team really helped us because it was during such a critical time of communication during COVID and restructurings. The second one was to consider the overall talent journey. The Marketplace can be the differentiator. Up until now, we didn't really have a talent management roadmap per se. We had a list of offerings, lots of programs, but in terms of a clear roadmap that brought technology in to support it, it's gotten a lot clearer now. And I think the Marketplace is like the pinnacle, the cherry on the cake. You have calibration, talent, performance, etc. But it really helps to understand where you're going to position this in your Marketplace. Where you're going to position Marketplace in your roadmap. And I kind of wish we could have done that last year. It would have probably made for a smoother adherence and adoption. My last one was the executive sponsorship. So for us, it was fortuitous and happenstance. But if you can get executive sponsorship early on, that will help. And ultimately, your readiness to carpe diem, to seize the opportunities that are thrown your way by COVID or spontaneous talks at town halls, just bounce on them. That's what I would say.
Well, wonderful last words of this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Richard, for hosting us. And thank you, Vivian, for sharing that story and teaching us all to seize the day.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. Have a great workday, everyone.